Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Down the Rabbit Hole News. I am the Rabbit. Look, shout out to you guys for watching this. So yesterday we tried to get into this lawsuit that was filed by a man by the name of Darren McGinnis, Mr. McGinnis, against NBC Universal for a documentary that was released on Peacock by the name of Menendez plus Menudo, Boys Betrayed. This documentary is totally focused on the Menendez brothers and how Jose Menendez had essayed a member of Menudo by the name of Roy Rosselló. And it was really just a focus on Jose Menendez and his management of Menudo through RCA. Okay. Now there's some individuals here and there's a huge web of situations that's happening, right? And this lawsuit is outlining a couple of things, but I'm going to try to my best to break it down for you. Mr. McGinnis is alleging that the Menendez brothers are right where they need to be at. Mr. McGinnis is a promoter of Menudo. And so then he goes on this lawsuit to discredit Roy Rosselló, one of the members of Menudo, who's also made allegations against Jose Menendez, right? I feel like I had to review this because we did a deep dive, I want to say maybe a year and a half ago, on this Menudo documentary. And this lawsuit is interesting because he is defending the name of Menudo and saying that the brand has been wrongfully defamed and is seeking to sue over this, specifically NBC Universal for this documentary. Let's get into it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Yesterday, some news dropped about an individual who is said to be a promoter for Menudo, a Puerto Rican pop group that many years old, okay? And the reason why this piqued my interest was because I want to say about a year ago, I did a commentary video about Menudo in a documentary that came out where a man by the name of Roy Rosselló, who was a Menudo member, made allegations about the Menendez brothers' father, okay? He had said that he had been violated by their dad. And so it was through Roy Rosselló's statement that really woke up, the Menendez brothers case again, believe it or not.
Back a little bit. Jose Menendez is connected to Menudo through RCA. In November of 1983, before I was born, Menudo signed a long-term contract with RCA Records. It called for 12 albums in 6 years. It was comparable to the company's multi-million-dollar agreements with Kenny Rogers and Diana Ross. Edgardo Diaz, the founder of Menudo, signed this contract with Jose Menendez at the expense of another member of the group. His name, Roy Rosselló.
Former Menudo singer Roy Rosselló claims he was drugged and raped by Jose Menendez in the mid-'80s. Menudo had just signed with RCA Records, where Menendez was a top executive.
In May of 2023, Eric and Lyle Menendez have their claims that their father was molesting them. According to their attorney, this comes in the wake of an explosive new documentary aired on Peacock called Menendez plus Menudo, Boys Betrayed. In this documentary, Roy Rosselló makes allegations of years of sexual abuse by Edgardo Diaz. The details of that are very triggering, and I would suggest you guys watch the docuseries if you want to understand what Roy Rosselló endured at the hands of Edgardo Diaz during his time with Menudo. The LAPD is investigating the founder of Menudo for alleged sexual assault on former members. There's a current investigation on Edgardo Diaz through the LAPD. We have yet to receive any updates from the LAPD as how they plan to move forward with their investigation. In the documentary, former Menudo member Roy Rosselló claims band's manager Edgardo Diaz introduced him to Jose Menendez in New York. The declaration that was submitted by Roy reads, the Puerto Rican singing group Menudo. Menudo was a boy band formed by Edgardo Diaz in the late 1970s. I was in the group until 1986. In the fall of 1983 or 1984, the group was performing in New York. I recall that this was shortly before the time that Edgardo Diaz signed a record contract with RCA for the group. One evening at the hotel, Mr. Diaz told me that I would be having dinner with Jose Menendez, who was an RCA executive. Diaz said that I was going to do a favor and do something great for Menudo and for him. I was taken in a limousine to Jose Menendez's house. As I recall, it was in New Jersey. Jose Menendez was in the limousine, as was Edgardo Diaz. After arriving at the Menendez home, I saw one of his boys sitting behind the front door. I was directed to the dining room. Another boy was at the dining room table. Neither of the boys said anything to me. Jose Menendez was there along with his wife, as was Edgardo Diaz. Jose Menendez offered me a glass of wine at the table and told me it was expensive wine, so I should drink the entire glass. Diaz of selling my body to Jose Menendez. He told me not to mention this to anyone. This was not my only sexual experience with Jose Menendez.
So a lot of this is like a tangling of webs. So this is why when I heard about this man by the name of Darren McGillis, who is a Menudo promoter, at least this is how he's named himself. When he says, I'm going to file a lawsuit against NBC Universal, NBC Universal is the people that did the documentary for Menudo that exposed how these young men were violated as children in the group, right? And how they were basically prostituted for opportunities. And some of the men had been basically violated by the Menendez's father. Okay. So Darren or Mr. McGillis, this is his lawsuit. And I was reading a little bit of it, and it's not too deep. It's pretty short. He wrote it himself. He's representing himself and he's suing NBC Universal. Okay. That's what he's doing. Let's get into this real quick. So Darren brings this action on behalf of himself and Menudo against the defendant NBC Universal Media and Peacock TV, which is where the documentary was at that I watched, and I'm sure a lot of people did. Plaintiff makes the following allegations, which are based on facts and personal knowledge. The plaintiff, Darren McGillis, DBA Menudo, had been a critic of the defendant, NBC Universal Media, okay, and Peacock, not because NBC does a bad job of reporting the news, but because NBC seeks to create the news by simply highlighting all negative information about the trade name and music group Menudo and ignoring all positive information about Menudo. NBC has sought to use its massive influence purportedly as a news source to defame the name Menudo in the minds of its viewers and readers for the purposes of gaining viewers to its streaming service Peacock, culminating in NBC claiming credit for breaking news that is fabricated at best and paid for lies at worst. NBC, in the form of libel and slander against the name Menudo, has only escalated in recent months as illegal criminal proceedings against non-parties, Eric and Lyle Menendez, are making worldwide news as part of its concerted efforts to tilt the general public belief in one direction. NBC has tried to taint the name Menudo with a series of ever more scandalous faults and defamatory label of sexual molestation, gay, and ultimately homosexual behaviors of past members of the Menudo group. These labels are neither hyperbolic nor opinion. These are repeatedly reported as true fact, with purported factual support by allegedly reputable sources, acting not merely with reckless disregard for the truth of their statements sufficient to meet the definition of the legal standard of actual malice, but acting with real animosity for the plaintiff Menudo and seeking to cause its true harm the way actual malice commonly is understood. NBC has refused to correct its conduct, requiring the time and expense of filing the instant lawsuit. I saw the documentary on Peacock, and it wasn't attacking Menudo the group. I think that it was attacking Edgardo. That's why I think it was attack. I don't think it was attacking the group per se. It does feel personal. So then I got kind of nosy. Welcome to my job. I got kind of nosy. And I was like, let me look into this guy a little bit more. And he runs a couple of fan pages on Facebook for Menudo. He's got like a YouTube channel for Menudo. All Menudo. So I don't know what is he like at least the way it's being reported is that he's a promoter. So Aduko, the way I understand it is he is attacking NBC for the documentary, okay, of Menudo. And he is saying that the Menendez part, all of that is lies, basically. So we're gonna get into that. I didn't get the impression that they were attacking Menudo, the documentary. I got the impression that he was attacking that, well, at least that NBC was exposing Edgardo, the manager of Menudo back in that time. I know he's missing an end there. The planned murder of music executives Jose Menendez and his wife Kitty. Okay. On August 20th, 1989, Jose and Mary Louise Kitty Menendez had their lives taken at the hands of Joseph Lyle Menendez, Eric, the Menendez brothers, the two adult children of both victims. In the consolidated habeas corpus appeal before the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, Lyle and Eric Menendez received an extensive review of the criminal case. A copy of the 42-page opinion is attached herein to Exhibit A. This is why this was 92 pages, by the way. No Netflix or other entertainment documentary can erase the evidence and hard facts reviewed by the Ninth Circuit. The Menendez brothers have received due process, and the facts and evidence are highlighted in the court opinion. In 1991, fabricated allegations and the 1992 criminal conviction for libel. NBC knew or should have known that no truth exists to label Menudo as being involved in any criminal activity involving underage sex with contracted members of Menudo. The sole source of the 1991 intentional scandal was a man from New York City named Bolivar Arellano Beroles. I've never heard of this name. Bolivar Arellano Beroles. This man, for countless years prior to his criminal conviction for libel, was stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from unsuspecting fans of Menudo, selling, but not limited to, illegal counterfeit copyright concerts, videos, films of Menudo dubbed as generic VHS tapes. Oh, shit. Okay. Let's keep going. As stated by the plaintiff on May 22nd, 1991, to the national news media, including Fox News, Entertainment Tonight, the fabricated allegations are a result of Bolivar's failure to successfully extort Menudo with threats to be left alone to continue his criminal federal felonies of copyright infringement against Menudo. Click link to watch the YouTube video. Oh, I'm gonna have to watch it later. This is Darren McGillis, Menudo's spokesman. Is he still a spokesman? This is that's a picture of him in 1981, I think. Hold up, y'all might need to see a recent picture. This is him. I'll look for the video later on. At no time has any contracted member of Menudo ever stated that they had encountered underage sex with any owner and or adult employee of Menudo. In 1992, Bolivar was criminally convicted of libel, which is in criminal cases require a decision by a court of guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Bolivar was sentenced to pay a fine of $500 for each charge or 1 day in jail for every $5, which he failed to pay, imprisonment for a period of 6 hours, which took place Wednesday, January 22nd, 1992, at the Judicial Center of San Juan. So this happened in PR. As a restitution penalty, the judge ordered Bolivar to publish a notice in a local San Juan newspaper, identifying himself by his complete name, wherein it is stated that he has no evidence at all to demonstrate the truth of his defamatory accusations. Attaches a copy of the judgment conviction entered against Bolivar by the Criminal Court of San Juan, Puerto Rico. NBC producer Robert ran in an elaborate scheme. Robert Rand, hereinafter as to Rand, a self-described journalist, concocted a detailed, complex, and well-planned strategy involving many intricate steps and details. This scheme was not simple or straightforward, but rather has been carefully developed over the past 35 years and contained many parts. Emphasize the careful and detailed nature of this plan. So this is where we left on the lawsuit yesterday. You know, Baby Bunny, when she calls, I have to go. Okay, she is the Queen CEO. Make sure you support the channel by hitting the like. Let's finish this lawsuit. The scheme began during the Menendez brothers murder trial, in which Rand intentionally and successfully rumored around the courthouse that Enrique Martin Morales, PKA Ricky Martin, a former contracted member of Menudo, had been sexually assaulted by Jose Menendez on a road trip to Disneyland. Rand was obsessed with the murder trial and convinced himself that he had to get the Menendez brothers out of jail. And he had a footnote in here, fabricated lie. He's saying that this journalist by the name of Robert Rand lied about all of this, and he's a self-described journalist. Okay. In mid-1993, the plaintiff received a telephone communication from detectives with the Beverly Hills Police Department requesting assistance getting in touch with contracted members of Menudo during the time Jose Menendez was actively involved with the group, specifically wanting to contact Ricky Martin. In the late 1994, plaintiff received the first of what would be many telephone communications from Rand over the next 30 plus years. Rand was in Puerto Rico seeking to speak with former Menudo members, and he sought out plaintiff's contact information from a journalist at TV y Novelas magazine of Puerto Rico. Oh my God, y'all. I remember TV y Novelas magazine back in the day. That was a magazine that was in my household. Gossip equivalent. It was a gossip kind of tabloid magazine, but everybody was always reading TV y Novelas. So keep that in mind. So Puerto Rico sounds like their own version of it as well. The plaintiff invited Rand to his home in Puerto Rico to speak in person. It was during this encounter that Rand stated he interviewed Ricky Martin in a hotel room located in Mexico City, Mexico, and he secretly recorded the conversation without Mr. Martin's permission and or knowledge. Rand stated that Ricky Martin is on a recorded audio tape describing in detail being taken alone with Jose Menendez in a vehicle to Disneyland, that the car stopped and Jose Menendez sexually assaulted him by placing his hands down Ricky Martin's pants. Okay. The plaintiff did not hear from Robert Rand again until early 1999 when Ricky Martin's career was exploding in the American market. I mean, 1999 would have been Living La Vida Loca, I think. Pretty sure. Yeah, 1999 was Living La Vida Loca release date. So, yeah, that's around the time where kind of Ricky Martin did like a very successful crossover. He was singing, and in English. He had an English album at that time. And he had a lot of pretty awesome hits at that time in 1999. And it keeps going. In May/June of 1999, the plaintiff was receiving multiple communications from mainstream and tabloid media seeking information on Ricky Martin. In early June of 1999, a reporter by the name of Bob Mickles, and his managing editor, Candace Trunzo, with Globe magazine, was seeking information on Menudo, Ricky Martin, and Jose Menendez connection. They each had spoken off the record with Robert Rand about his alleged recorded interview with Ricky Martin. The plaintiff informed Globe that he had no interest in being interviewed by the magazine, as Robert Rand is the source of the information. After multiple telephone communications and monetary incentives, plaintiff agreed to be interviewed regards to the limited hearsay information he could provide Globe. Plaintiff was advised it would be a story stuck in the middle of a publication and was more of a filler. Plaintiff was surprised to learn it was a front page tabloid story. It contained a statement that plaintiff never said, and many exaggerated statements to make the story more scandalous than reality. I remember the Globe too. It was one of those Kmart front checkout type of tabloids that you'd go between that and the other ones. And this reads, superstar ex-promoter tells all Ricky Martin's sex attack shocker linked to Menendez killer probe by cops. If I remember the documentary, right, that was put out there by Peacock on this matter, there were concerns about Jose Menendez and a lot of the members in the group. The one that was very outspoken about this and did an affidavit and a statement for the Menendez was Roy Rosselló. So Jose Menendez was this top RCA guy, right? And signed them. And I mean, all of that. We have all those articles that I've shown before in other videos. The last video that I did on this, I'm going to link it in the description box so you guys can watch it. This right here, my friends, is not new news that somehow maybe Ricky Martin might allegedly have been victimized by Jose Menendez. Not just Ricky, but potentially others. This is what's been rumored, I'll say, because I don't have the facts. Okay. But Ricky Martin has been very, very tight-lipped about a lot of things. He has not denounced the creator of Menudo, which is Edgardo Diaz. He's had pictures with Edgardo. So I don't know, guys. I mean, note something, that the people that came out of Menudo who were most successful, one of the ones was Ricky Martin. He had the notable successful career. The other ones did have some success, but globally, the name Ricky Martin is well recognized. Okay, so there's something to be said there. And people have speculated that the reason that is because maybe Ricky was, promised something, allegedly. Maybe he was promised if he stayed silent that he would be given something or his career would grow or whatever may be the case. That has always been the rumor. So you guys let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let's get back to this lawsuit. After the Globe publication was released, Rand contacted plaintiff and accused him of scooping out his story and stated plaintiff owed him part of the money Globe paid out. It is now crystal clear that no audio tape of Ricky Martin ever existed regards to the admissions claimed made by Ricky Martin in a hotel room interviewed in Mexico City, Mexico. It is also doubtful that an interview with Ricky Martin ever took place anywhere with Rand. The plaintiff was a fool and was used by Rand to advance his elaborate scheme to get the Menendez brothers out of prison. What benefit would Robert Rand, who is a self-described proclaimed journalist, how would getting the Menendez brothers benefit him in any way or fashion? Just a question. That's all. I mean, why would that be something that would benefit? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Rand has admitted to the plaintiff of illegally creating evidence in the Menendez brothers murder case that are simply made up, forged, and fake. The most recent evidence Robert Rand created was paying and convincing a former contracted member of Menudo, Roy Rosselló, to fabricate a story that he had been sexually assaulted by Jose Menendez. Listen, Roy Rosselló wrote a whole affidavit for this. Okay, so this is interesting. After plaintiff viewed the NBC produced show Menendez Menudo Boys Betrayed, Rand telephoned plaintiff for his thoughts. The plaintiff told Rand, "You paid this guy Roy to lie?" Rand responded, "No, I paid him for content," meaning pictures, videos, or other things Roy owned that was used in the broadcast. Below are links to 5 notable detailed messages left on the plaintiff's telephone by Robert Rand. Dozens are more available. March 13, 2021. Asking plaintiff to return his call to review portions of Ricky Martin's audio and videotaped. Okay. Rand voicemail says Dateline NBC offered him big money for his Ricky Martin audio taped interview. Rand voicemail August 3rd, 2021 says has a contract and money offered for plaintiff Darren McGillen's interview. Rand's voicemail says has a firm offer that it is happening, wants to talk serious business for interviewing with plaintiff. And then here's another one. This was February 7th of 2022. Says Rand voicemail says signed a production deal and has money. Had plaintiff signed, money would already be in your hands. Click link to hear the voicemail. So I heard one of them. These voicemails are unlisted, so they're not like publicly available. But these are voicemails that Mr. McGillis is saying that Robert Rand left him. But it sounds like, is any of the information true? I don't really know. Like, is Robert Rand sitting on information? Because that's what McGillis is saying, that he's not. Let's keep going. Former contracted Menudo member Roy Stefan Rosselló Diaz, Roy. Sadly, after Roy's contract with Menudo concluded, he never successfully returned to the entertainment world as hardcore drugs had taken over his life. Roy, as a younger adult, was in several homosexual relationships with older men that later left him bitter, combined with his drug use. Roy has never found a path to success after leaving Menudo. Roy has been angry at everyone except himself. On September 14, 2014, the seventh season of Brazilian reality television show titled A Fazenda 7 premiered. A total of 17 contestants completed for the price of 2 million Brazilian reais. I think that's how you say that, reais. And that's about 350 million US dollars. Roy completed the program and, in a misguided attempt to gain public votes and sympathy, fabricated a story of being sexually assaulted while a contracted member of Menudo. He told the fabricated story to another contestant and it aired on the program. Roy was eliminated from the show, making it only to the third episode. Roy has since been interviewed with multiple times over the years in both audio and video programs, with each interview contradicting the previous statements repeatedly. NBC paid a substantial amount of money for Roy Stefan Rosselló Diaz, Roy, to lie and deceive its viewers. NBC went from reporting the news to intentional, willful, and malicious libel and slander. A small town family created a multi-million-dollar music enterprise, Pandosa America, Inc., formerly known as Pandosa Productions, Inc., Producciones Pandosa, Inc., herein after referred to as Pandosa, was the original owner of the brand name Menudo. Pandosa was a small town family-owned business that employed Edgardo Diaz Melendez, Edgardo, the nephew and son of corporate partners. Edgardo was responsible for writing and producing multiple hits for Menudo, including the 1983 hit If You're Not Here by My Side, Si Tú No Estás, thus causing Edgardo to become the face of the mega success of the trade named Menudo. Menudo continued to be owned and controlled by Pandosa until financial mismanagement forced the family through the corporation to sell the trade name of Menudo. On August 31st, 1986, international music executive Jose Antonio Jimenez and his company, Bredsford Financial and Trade, Inc., purchased the trade name of Menudo from Pandosa for 250 million US dollars. There's exhibits to this. And then there's a footnote that says plaintiff Darren McGillis has multiple investments and contractual relationships with Jose Antonio Jimenez and his company. Many include transferring exclusive rights to the brand name Menudo to the plaintiff. Picture from the left to right, Jose Antonio Jimenez, Mickey Garcia, Darren McGillis, and Edgardo Diaz. So Darren knew Edgardo. Okay, this is, I guess, giving us an idea, because I'm going to tell you, I'm so confused who Darren McGinnis is in this whole story, right? Like, sounds like he worked very closely with Edgardo and, you know, he was the owner to a certain degree. And so he's trying to fix how Menudo's name has been tarnished. At least what he sees has been tarnished. At a meeting called and held on July 5th, 1988, of the Board of Directors of Pandosa America, Inc., formerly known as Pandosa Productions, Inc., it was resolved and approved by a unanimous vote that the president of the corporation be authorized to file Chapter 7 petition in the U.S. Federal District Court of Puerto Rico. The financial situation of the corporation is seriously difficult and thus unable to pay its debt or to carry out reorganization in order to continue operations. July 18, 1988, Pandosa America filed Chapter 7 petition in the United States Bankruptcy Court for the District of Puerto Rico. On October 11, 1988, Pandosa filed an amendment to the petition to item 14B, indicating the August 13, 1987 sale of the trade name Menudo. On July 29, 1992, Puerto Rico Chief U.S. Bankruptcy Judge Enrique Laumont entered an order and final decree indicating that this is a no-asset case and closing the Chapter 7 case, discharging all Pandosa's debt. Okay. What does this have anything to do with all this stuff? Let's get into it. At no time had any contacted Menudo member ever brought a claim against Pandosa and or any of its officers, agents, or employees. No debt was discharged from any claim made by contracted Menudo members, as none existed. Pandosa, having successfully filed Chapter 7 and its debts fully discharged, meant that Pandosa owes no one person or company any financial obligation. On October 24th, 1994, Edgardo Diaz Melendez filed a Chapter 7 petition in the United States Bankruptcy Court for the District of Puerto Rico. Okay. Upon information and belief, in 1995, the Bankruptcy Court for the District of Puerto Rico discharged all of Edgardo's debts and found it was a no assets case. At no time had any contracted Menudo members ever brought a civil claim against Edgardo Diaz Melendez. No debt was discharged for any civil claims by any contracted members, as none existed. Edgardo, having successfully filed Chapter 7 and his debts being fully discharged, meant that Edgardo owes no one person or company any financial obligation up to and including the date of discharge by the U.S. District Court of Puerto Rico. Edgardo said it best in a 1983 interview with Geraldo Rivera. I don't know too much about business. I really only know about produce music for the group. Okay, so he provides the interview link to this. Okay, so it further goes, defamation that is the subject of this complaint. NBC cared only to get paid subscribers to its Peacock TV LLC. The plaintiff brings this action to vindicate the reputation of Menudo's name and to establish NBC's liability for the harm it has caused to its reputation by the false, defamatory, and inflammatory mischaracterizations of the plaintiff, Menudo. The plaintiff seeks an award of compensatory damages for the reputational harm caused by NBC, and given the willful and malicious nature of NBC conduct that is intended to interfere with plaintiff's career, the plaintiff also seeks an award of punitive damages. The plaintiff requests compensatory damages in amount in excess of 75,000 jurisdictional limit as to be determined at trial, and punitive damages in the amount of 500 million. I think the reason why he's bringing up Chapter 7 and the filings and stuff like that is to basically say that throughout the time since the filing, nobody has, reached out or at least tried to file claims against them, especially Edgardo. But there's something that Mr. McGillis is failing to mention, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit. Specifically on Edgardo Diaz, there is an open criminal investigation that's in LAPD as we speak since 2023 regarding what Roy Rosselló said about Edgardo Diaz. So he's claiming defamation per se. NBC has published and broadcast a show, Menendez Menudo Boys Betrayed, in relation to the plaintiff Menudo, and repeatedly both in articles as well as in broadcasts on its numerous news channels, streaming services, and websites. We know this. And this is the Peacock documentary that I saw that I reviewed for those. And it was released, I want to say 2023, so it's been almost close to 2 years that this happened. But here's the deal. One thing that is not being mentioned here about Edgardo, and I'm reviewing this just to double check, Edgardo Diaz has an active criminal investigation in Los Angeles, okay, for allegations that have been made against him, for alleged sexual assault, to be clear. Now, let me show you my screen because I don't want to be speaking out of term. There hasn't been a conclusion to this investigation. Okay, so LAPD investigates founder of Menudo for alleged sexual assault of former member. Okay, and that member, my friends, is Roy Rosselló, who Mr. McGillis is calling a liar and that he fabricated information, guys. And they're using Roy Rosselló's statement in the Menendez case. So, like I said, a lot of this is a lot of tangle webs. If you have been following the Menendez case, you would know how deep this goes with the Menudo ban and everything. But I'm kind of wondering what Mr. McGillis is thinking as far as, you know, the fact that Edgardo Diaz has an active investigation with Los Angeles County. We have yet to see any conclusions, and I am seeing some of the exhibits, and the exhibits are, very intense. This is a 92-page lawsuit that has been submitted. Guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Have you been following the Menendez case? Did you guys know about this situation? And I've added clips from my other deep dive that I did on this when I watched the documentary. Again, Mr. McGillis feels like the Menudo name has been defamed because of these allegations and that the Menendez are right where they need to be at. I need to know what you guys think in the chat. I'll see you guys on the next one. Hit the like button. Rabbits out. Bye, guys.